South Africa finds itself gripped by an extraordinary wave of political tension and high drama as reports surface that two missing African National Congress (ANC) officials, accused of large-scale fraud and corruption, have attempted to flee the country through the Lesotho border. In response, General Mkhwanazi has declared a national red alert, ordering an immediate lockdown of every border post, airport, and seaport in what may be the most extensive political manhunt in South Africa's modern history. The nation now watches anxiously, asking one question: how far will these officials go to evade justice, and who within the system helped them disappear? According to insider intelligence, communication intercepts suggest that the fugitives were being smuggled out of the country under the cover of night, heading toward Lesotho, a small mountain kingdom infamous for its porous borders and its easy access to other African nations. At approximately 2:45 a.m., border control officers at Mazarero Breach received an urgent red alert from Pretoria, triggering immediate vehicle inspections. Only hours later, at a remote crossing between Wepener and Meeting, two luxury SUVs were stopped. Inside one of the vehicles, authorities reportedly discovered fake passports, stacks of cash, and gold jewelry worth millions of rands. While the two main suspects managed to escape into the night, two bodyguards and a driver were arrested on the spot. This discovery has deepened suspicions that the escape was not an isolated act but a coordinated operation involving individuals within ANC networks. By dawn, General Mkhwanazi held an emergency press conference before a packed crowd of reporters and flashing cameras. His voice was sharp, his tone resolute. "These individuals are running from justice, not persecution," he declared. "The people's money has been stolen, and we will recover both the funds and the fugitives, dead or alive." He confirmed that both Interpol and the South African Defence Force (SANDF) were now fully mobilized, with troops deployed across the Lesotho and Mozambique borders and special units patrolling key highways leading out of Gauteng and the Free State. Mkhwanazi emphasized that the manhunt was not merely a criminal pursuit but a matter of national integrity. "This is not a witch hunt," he said firmly. "It's an awakening. The old system that allowed criminals in suits to walk free is finished." His words struck a chord across a nation weary of repeated corruption scandals and unfulfilled promises. Investigators close to the operation believe that the fugitives were tipped off about their arrest warrants well in advance, suggesting deep infiltration within political and law enforcement circles. Evidence supporting this claim continues to emerge. Security footage from OR Tambo International Airport allegedly shows an ANC-aligned business executive meeting with one of the suspects just 2 days before they vanished. Furthermore, a leaked memo from the Hawks, a premier crime-fighting unit, revealed that one of the vehicles used in the escape was registered under a company owned by a prominent ANC treasurer. The discovery raises serious concerns about complicity at the highest levels of power. As one investigator described it, this was not random. They had money, transport, and fake documents ready. Someone with influence helped them vanish. The public's outrage has been immediate and fierce. Across social media, hashtags such as #StopTheCorruption and #Mkhwanazi vs ANC are trending nationwide. Protests have erupted in major cities, with furious citizens blocking roads and burning ANC flags in a display of collective frustration. Many South Africans are voicing what has long been a painful sentiment, that those in power seem immune to justice while ordinary citizens suffer under a system riddled with impunity. One protester in Pretoria summed up the national mood succinctly: "They steal millions, then disappear. If it were ordinary citizens, they'd already be in jail. We want equality before the law." The unrest has created a political storm that has shaken the ANC to its core. Inside Latuli House, the ANC's headquarters, tensions are reportedly at breaking point. Some senior officials demand full cooperation with Mkhwanazi's task force, insisting that transparency is the only way to restore public trust. Others, however, are deeply worried that opening the books might expose additional layers of corruption. This is no longer about just two officials, an anonymous party insider admitted. The investigation is pulling in people from both provincial and national levels. It's spreading faster than anyone expected. Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa is said to be closely monitoring developments, though his silence has not gone unnoticed. Opposition leaders have seized on the crisis, calling for an urgent cabinet reshuffle to remove any minister under investigation. They argue that Ramaphosa's leadership will be judged not by his words but by the actions he takes in this defining moment. For the president, the stakes could not be higher: his credibility, his party's unity, and perhaps even the survival of the ANC itself now hang in the balance. As the drama unfolds, international attention is intensifying. Major media outlets in France, the United Kingdom, and the United States are covering the story extensively, framing it as a test of South Africa's democratic resilience. Several international anti-corruption watchdogs have reached out to General Mkhwanazi's office, offering technical and intelligence assistance to trace offshore accounts potentially tied to the fugitives. Early intelligence suggests that one of the missing officials transferred approximately 40 million rand to a European bank account through a shell company mere days before disappearing. If verified, this would mark one of the largest politically linked money laundering schemes in the country's history. Analysts are already warning that the investigation could fundamentally alter South Africa's political landscape. Within the ANC, the scandal is tearing apart long-standing alliances and exposing rival factions. Some fear that the widening probe may eventually ensnare cabinet-level politicians. The ANC is eating itself from the inside, one political analyst observed. Every new revelation pulls another senior figure into the fire. Mkhwanazi's crackdown could be the final blow that forces a reckoning within the ruling party. Indeed, for many South Africans, the story transcends the immediate manhunt. It represents a moment of truth for a nation still grappling with decades of corruption, inequality, and disillusionment. The ANC, once the liberation movement that brought freedom and democracy, now faces perhaps its greatest internal crisis since the end of apartheid. If the fugitives are not captured soon, experts warn, public trust in government institutions could collapse entirely, fueling an already volatile climate of political anger and social unrest. Mkhwanazi, however, remains unwavering. In his latest statements, he has vowed that justice will come, no matter how far the corrupt try to run. His approach has drawn both admiration and criticism. Supporters hail him as a symbol of moral renewal, a man willing to challenge entrenched power structures and hold the untouchable elite accountable. Critics, however, caution that his militarized methods risk blurring the line between justice and authoritarianism. Behind the headlines lies a far deeper truth, one that transcends the arrests, the press briefings, and the protests. It is the story of a government haunted by its own failures, a ruling party fighting for survival amid its own scandals, and a people demanding to be heard after years of silence. The corruption crisis has exposed not only the fragility of political institutions but also the enduring resilience of South Africans who continue to demand transparency and equality under the law. As troops patrol borders, as detectives trace offshore accounts, and as political figures scramble to distance themselves from the fugitives, the question that echoes across the nation remains unanswered: will Mkhwanazi capture the missing officials before they vanish forever, or will the system once again protect those who wield power? For now, all eyes remain on South Africa, a nation standing at a crossroads between accountability and decay. The coming days promise further revelations, new confrontations, and perhaps a turning point in the country's long struggle against corruption. As this extraordinary story unfolds, one truth rings louder than ever: South Africa deserves justice, not excuses. The people's patience has run out, and their demand is simple: truth, transparency, and accountability. Whether the government can deliver on that promise will determine not only the fate of two fugitives but the future of South Africa's democracy itself. Within the ANC, divisions are hardening. Reformist members argue that the party must cleanse itself or risk annihilation in the next general election. Hardliners, however, view Mkhwanazi's campaign as a threat to the party's unity and survival. Whispers of internal sabotage and counter-investigations suggest that the power struggle has entered a dangerous new phase. Some fear that if Mkhwanazi goes too far, he could become a target himself. His insistence on independence has reportedly frustrated senior politicians who feel he is overstepping his authority. In the midst of this turmoil, ordinary South Africans continue to suffer the consequences of a weakened state. Public hospitals lack resources, electricity outages remain frequent, and unemployment levels soar. Many citizens see in this crisis not just the downfall of corrupt politicians, but a reflection of the broader failures of governance. As one teacher from Soweto put it, we keep voting for change, but the faces stay the same. Maybe this time, justice will finally win. The global community, too, is watching with growing interest. International media have framed the story as a litmus test for South Africa's democracy. Can the nation confront entrenched corruption without tearing itself apart? Editorials in major newspapers such as The Guardian and The New York Times describe the manhunt as a defining moment that could either restore faith in the rule of law or expose the system's deep dysfunction. Human rights organizations have urged transparency and cautioned against political reprisals disguised as justice. As days turn into weeks, the story refuses to fade. Every new discovery, every press briefing, and every rumor fuels the fire of public debate. The phrase, Mkhwanazi versus the ANC, has become shorthand for a broader conflict between accountability and corruption, between reform and decay. Whether the general's campaign will succeed in capturing the fugitives and restoring trust remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, South Africa stands on the edge of transformation. The unfolding saga is not merely a story about two men on the run, it is about a nation at war with its conscience. It is about citizens demanding the dignity that comes from honest leadership, and about a political system struggling to redefine itself in the face of public outrage. In the coming months, as investigations continue and political alliances shift, the choices made by leaders like Mkhwanazi and Ramaphosa will determine whether this moment becomes a turning point or another missed opportunity. For now, the manhunt continues, the protests grow louder, and the world watches. Somewhere beyond the borders of South Africa, two fugitives are hiding, perhaps believing they have escaped justice. But in the hearts of millions of South Africans, the pursuit is far from over. The people have found their voice again, and it is echoing through every street, courtroom, and parliament chamber. No more lies, no more theft, no more impunity. The storm has broken, and this time, it will not pass quietly.